Now, current affairs is mostly looked at something which ought to be read, remembered, memorized, and then brought out to life. But that is not how ideally current affairs should be approached. The way current affairs preparation is structured everywhere is you take up a note, remember it, memorize it, and try to replicate in the exam if the direct question comes. But if you see the UPSC pattern of last few years, the focus has been more on the application part of it. The recent Wayanad landslides. Now that is a topic clearly of disaster management. But then there is an obvious angle of geography in it and the overall physiography of Western Ghats in it. So the tipping point is at that point of the peak where it's very difficult to climb when you're going uphill. But once you reach that point, the downhill journey is very easy. I'm hoping to see a large number of people on 29th. Good afternoon everybody, welcome to this special session on how to prepare current affairs for UPSC 2025. Current affairs is the pulse of UPSC aspirants. They are the key to unlocking the most dynamic and unpredictable sections of the exam. Staying updated isn't just about knowing what's happening and remembering the facts. It's more than that. It's about understanding how today's events shape tomorrow's policies, influence global dynamics, and impact the lives of millions. More than the academic part, it's very important for an aspirant to understand how incorporating current affairs in their preparation will help them get an edge in the mains examination. Get that extra 10-15 marks which is going to help them sail over other aspirants and get a rank in the UPSC final list. In the overall preparation scenario, now current affairs is mostly looked at something which ought to be read, remembered, memorized, and then brought out to life. But that is not how ideally current affairs should be approached. In this session, we are going to look at the various facets of how do we approach current affairs, how do we analyze current affairs, read the various dimensions of it, and then synthesize everything to get it in our examination papers. Now that we know the major challenges of tackling current affairs, the first approach to tackle current affairs properly is to read it in an organized and structured manner. Now, the structuring and organization of current affairs, especially for aspirants, occurs at multiple levels. For example, if I categorize it subject-wise, then you have one form of categorization. You can categorize it on the basis of how complicated the topic is. Is it a simple topic? Is it a complex topic? Or is it a completely chaotic topic which has multiple dimensions? Now, in Samachar Manthan, that is where I think we score really well over most of the other peers and the rest of the other notes which an ordinary standard aspirant would be making. In Samachar Manthan, we have essentially categorized all the news items which come across a period into two categories. First, there are a few issues which are really essential from the preparation point of view, especially mains. These are high-yielding issues which have a potential, or you can say it has a high cost-benefit ratio. Then there are some items which are called scroll-through items. Now, these items are something which you need to have a basic understanding of, but you need not go into the depth and breadth of such news items. So, it is essential while going forward in their preparation schedule, the aspirants notices such items, organizes it, and structures it so that his or her revision module becomes easy. Secondly, integration with static subjects is very essential when current affairs is concerned. Right now, the way aspirants usually prepare is take up a book or probably take up some old school current affairs where there is a lot of information stuffed into somewhere around 100 to 150 pages and then they mug it up. Now, my point is, imagine all the aspirants reading approximately from the same sources. But what difference do the rankers have from a normal aspirants? The major difference which comes in for the aspirants is how do they structure and organize their notes, their current affairs notes in their revision schedules, and how they apply it finally in their examination papers. So integrating current affairs with static subjects is an integral and inherent part of current affairs preparation. Adding to it is right now the way current affairs preparation is structured everywhere is you take up a note, remember it, memorize it, and try to replicate in the exam if the direct question comes. But if you see the UPSC pattern of last few years, the focus has been more on the application part of it. For example, if I tell you how is the cryptocurrency model affecting the Indian society, no, this is not something which you will get directly in a current affairs magazine. They must have talked about Indian society and they must have talked about cryptocurrencies in silos. But what is the question asking you? How the cryptocurrency is affecting Indian society. So essentially, you need to have an analysis and evaluation part, which you should be able to replicate in the examination. Now, where aspirants really struggle is this application and evaluation part, they try to do it in the examination phase of those 3 hours. But at Samachar Manthan, we are classifying them from the beginning itself and looking forward to the various dimensions. So, for example, say I take cryptocurrency, how is it affecting the economy? How is it affecting the society? What changes does it force upon the government regulation and the regulatory bodies? So these are the aspects or the high-yielding aspects which needs to be covered during the course of preparation. Look, if we consider current affairs as a separate subject, there are 3 primary problems which the students face. The first and the foremost problem is an overwhelming volume of information. Students often feel buried under the multiple number of sources and the huge number of news items that comes every day. You have to study on an average 2 newspapers like the Hindu and the Indian Express. Then there are other magazines which are referred to. For example, Yojana, Kurukshetra, Down to Earth, etc. And adding to the burden is the current affairs material of coaching institutes. So if we take all this together, the load of information which a student has to prepare during the course of preparation is really huge. And once you have such voluminous amount of information, memorizing them, remembering them, and getting them out on the paper is even more difficult. The second most important problem which the students come across is a lack of contextual understanding. The lack of contextual understanding I mean, for example, there's a topic which appears on the news with regards to landslides. Or if we take, for example, the recent Wayanad landslides. Now that is a topic clearly of disaster management. But then there is an obvious angle of geography in it and the overall physiography of Western Ghats in it. If we keep this aside, there's again the policies, programs and the governance aspects of urban development and the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in it. So when you have one particular current event, the major challenge which students face is to take a hold of the various associated dimensions which extend into other subjects, be it geography, polity, the governance, the social justice aspect, where how the lives of poor, underprivileged and vulnerable section is affected. The third and the most important problem which the students cope during the entire preparation schedule. It's not just a problem of the first timers, but also for the ones who are giving the 3rd or 4th attempt is the fear of missing out. Now, by fear of missing out, what I mean is the constant flow of information leads to a certain anxiety of missing out on certain unknown aspects of current affairs. That is where a student falters and goes to the market, gets more and more material, उससे होता तो सही है, बस आपका मटेरियल बढ़ता जाता है, उसी हिसाब से आपका नोट्स और अमाउंट ऑफ नोट्स विच यू आर मेकिंग ऑल्सो इंक्रीजेस. And finally, what it leads to is you have huge number of pages to revise at the last moment, which is out of the scope of any normal aspirant. Now that is where a proper, comprehensive and structured preparation to current affairs is very essential. Now coming to the next aspect, that is the fear of unknown unknowns. One thing we need to make it clear at the outset is it is impossible to know everything and anything under the sun. But what we can try to do is we can try to raise the probability of attempting the unknown unknowns. So that is the reason why we are trying to cover as many as sources of current affairs possible. So obviously there is no guarantee that each and every question which UPSC asks will come from a particular current affairs magazine. But what referring to diverse sources does is it increases the probability of hitting the current question in the prelims and mains examination. Especially last year's prelims, if you see, there were approximately 60 questions which could have been directly picked from the Samachar Manthan. Now, the basic ideology or philosophy behind it is no fluke कि ऐसे होते होते हो गया. The reason behind it is the sources and the topics which are selected and then clubbed under particular topics and subjects is very meticulously designed. Now, we have covered majorly two aspects here: removing the fear of unknown unknowns and tackling the most generic problems which a student faces during their course of preparation. But this all is zilch or zero if you do not know how to apply it or synthesize a mains answer or create a particular answer writing framework based on the current affairs which you have read across the years. That is the fourth and most unique aspect which I can tell that answer writing practice is an inherent part of Samachar Manthan sessions. Using this ideology where you're tackling generic problems, the specific problems, then making the student write an answer, we basically try to reach a tipping point. Look, the tipping point is at that point of the peak where it's very difficult to climb when you're going uphill. But once you reach that point, the downhill journey is very easy. So the entire idea behind Samachar Manthan is the students should not just know about the daily current happenings, but we should be able to evaluate, analyze, and synthesize answers based on his or her knowledge. With that, we'll be coming to the end of this short discussion. I'm hoping to see a large number of people on 29th. Thank you.